Take advantage of the Boxing King Media discount at BYD Sheffield. You can get this amazing car for £269 per month with a £269 deposit. Details in the description.
Boxing King Media, powered by the Riyadh season. We're out here in Riyadh. Always a pleasure speaking to Paul Smith. Always love getting your insights into a big fight week. You're here on double business. Your brother's fighting in a big fight, and also the fight that you manage, Zizou. I'll have a quick word on Zizou. What do you think of his journey so far, Paul? And just how quickly do you think you're going to let him off the leash? Because I was saying to Buddy earlier, the Saudis want him in title fights.
Yeah, listen, he needs to learn. He's got to learn on the job, and because of his lack of amateur pedigree, I keep saying this all the time, he needs to have a longer sort of apprenticeship in the pro game. He's got to learn on the ropes, he's on the road. He's got to have these learning fights which are pretty meaningful for him, because, you know, in his, to his detriment sometimes and to his advantage, he's on these huge shows. So when he's on these huge shows, he's under the bright lights, he's the representative of the kingdom. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but he also has to be fighting the right type of opponents who he's expected to win against and learn a little bit from as he goes along and as he progresses. And unfortunately, up to now, it hasn't been as smooth sailing as it should have been, and the opponents should have been maybe a little bit less than what we've had. But it's tough, because everyone that fights him, it's like a World Cup final for them. It's like a world title fight for them. They're fighting the Saudi representative, and they want to obviously take that scalp. But he's a pleasure to manage. He's a lovely kid. He's a really hard worker, disciplined, dedicated. He gives his life to the sport, and you know, he's a really good friend of mine, and he's going to get there. You know, he's learning all the time. He's got the best around him in Buddy McGirt to learn from. He's obviously in camp with the likes of Callum and other top fighters also, so he's only going to get better now.
Indeed. So, and obviously your brother's in business in a big fight. I asked him this question earlier. You know, I was reading the build up to this fight, and a lot of experts are basically, they're using the narrative that Joshua BUATSI has got Callum Smith at the right time. You obviously ended your career, and you know there was fights that you probably thought maybe you shouldn't have took that. You're close to your brother. You're the oldest. So you tell me, what do you say to them people that are trying to push that narrative into this fight?
See, boxing's opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, and they all stink. You know, most of them stink. There's a lot of people giving their opinion on boxing who aren't really qualified to give their opinion on boxing, and it's fine for having an opinion. Who you think is going to win a fight is fine by me. It's great. It's your opinion, though. It's like, I have my opinion, and I have my idea of how a fight's going to happen for many reasons, not just because, oh, he's old and he's on the slide, or he lost his last fight, or 2 fights to Batabi haven't got stopped, and so therefore BUATSI's going to win, or, you know, everyone's entitled to an opinion. It's absolutely fine. But in my opinion, Callum isn't old. If he was old, he wouldn't be fighting. He wouldn't be carrying on. He's certainly not fighting for the money, and he's fighting to become a 2-weight world champion. If he wasn't still all there age-wise, then the 3 of us other brothers would have sat him down and told him so, and his family around him would have told him so, and no one is saying that because it wasn't age. It's a bit of inactivity that caught up with him in his last fight. A couple of injuries in camp. Again, he doesn't make excuses up, and I'm not making excuses up for him. It is what it is. He fought, he lost, that's it, no problem. But he's lost to Canelo, he's lost to Batabi. Is BUATSI on that level? Probably not. BUATSI's a lovely lad. He's a good fighter. I rate him, I respect him. You know, there's not a person in this for any side. I don't think he's that type either. It will just be business on the night. It'll be about who's the better fighter, who's prepared the best, and who's coming in with the right tactics, and maybe who it's hardest also. And I believe Callum ticks all them boxes.
I spoke to Buddy, and he's suspecting that this fight doesn't go the distance. They're both good inside fighters. They both love to trade. Do you see the same ending?
I think it'll be about who keeps the shape better, who makes the faults, who gets a bit ragged earlier or later when they get tired, who's non-punching and isn't tight, who's, you know, it's the small margins at this level. At the top level, it can literally be the smallest of margins. So boxing sometimes is a cruel sport. You know, you've seen fighters, Errol Graham's the one that springs to mind, who are dominating fights and get knocked out with in the last round just for one simple small mistake, which happens. But the more tired you get, the more pressure you're under, the more mistakes you will make. And I believe Callum can pressure BUATSI, drag him into the fight. That will suit Callum. A lot of people think that Callum you get close, you're safe, and that's where he wants you anyway. You know, he's that type of fighter, but also boxing ability. I think he's got it. But listen, it's a good fight. If it wasn't my brother, then I'd be very interested in this fight as possibly Steven and Sean. And like this, these are two very good fighters, and they call it a crossroads fight because have you got him at the right time, or haven't you got him at the right time? And that's what it's about with this. But people forget BUATSI's been a pro a long time now himself, and I think he medalled in 2016, was it, in the Olympics? And I commentated on his ABA final when he won. I really rate him. I picked him out of that Olympic cycle as one of the best fighters out there, to be honest with you. And I don't think he was expected to medal, but he did. He got a bronze. And I've followed his career since because I like how he fights. He could have possibly and probably done a little bit more than he has, but people would argue so should have Callum. A bit of inactivity's been his downfall sometimes, but both fighters are here, active, busy, coming back off wins. The Hutchinson win was a decent win for BUATSI as well, so he's got momentum coming to this, but snap back Callum, and I think Callum has got more than enough to do the job.
Well, it should be a fascinating fight. Like you said there, I agree with you. I think it potentially is the fight of the night. If your brother wins, which kind of champion, well, if the belt's more than likely will get disbanded after the fight on the Saturday, but which would you think he'll end up fighting for? Like, which route is he going down? Is this like a WBC, WBA?
No, this is a WBO interim title, isn't it? So I imagine if the belts do get given up, then whoever wins this fight will be made full champion, which is what Callum's goal is and what his dream is. After that, I'm not even looking at any other opponent, and I'm pretty certain Callum isn't. He's not that type. One fight at a time, and this is the biggest fight of his life, because if you lose, it's all over, and that's how 9 out of 10 fights, in my opinion, should be for every pro fighter. You should look at that as if you lose, you finish. And it's not the case. You know, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but boxing's so fine margins, as we've just said, and a loss can set you a long way back, and a loss can usually finish your career, even if it's early in your career. Some fighters are never the same after, so every fight should be your most important fight. This certainly is Callum's, and it is Joshua BUATSI's most important fight also.
A quick one on Callum. I asked him earlier about. I said you brought up in a family of brothers. You've been around gyms full of lads. You must have had some crazy pranks done on you. He couldn't remember, so I'm hoping you can remember. You got to take that. Beefy, answer it. Should we get Beefy's opinion on it as well? I do, mate. We're going to interview you whilst you're here.
Doing interviews? Yeah. So are you.
Give us a prediction, Liam, if you get him on camera. Which fight do you think? Your brother's fight? Which other one?
Prediction for Callum's fight.
Yeah.
Callum wins.
How?
Big win and big statements.
Big win, big statement.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is it. The next question I was going to ask Paul was about pranks. Because obviously a family of brothers, been surrounded by lads over the years. What's the worst prank you guys have done on each other, or maybe Callum, over the years?
I don't know, there's that many, but I don't know.
I'll tell you something about it in my hotel room every time I get one now.
Well, you could share that with us, because that was going to be my next question about pranks.
Every time we get in a hotel, I'm not one of the, I hate all like toilet talk and all that. I can't stand, I don't like that. Every hotel we get in, Liam gets my key, goes to my room first, gets the spare key and uses my toilet and leaves it for me. So I get in my room later on at night looking for a nice fresh shower and a nice clean bed, and he's been in my toilet.
Does he flush it?
No.
Oh.
And he does it to me every single time we go away. So when we go away now, my habit, and they all laugh at me for it, I won't tell anyone what room I'm in. I don't tell anyone my room number. I never tell them, and I make sure that I get one key only.
That is a legendary prank. How do you know it's Liam, by the way?
It's just always him. It's always him.
That's probably why he cut off earlier. Quick prediction on the Dubois-Parker main event. How do you see that going?
I've got to side with Dubois at the minute. He's on a good streak at the moment. I like Parker. I think he's a lovely lad and he's a good boxer. He's very accomplished, obviously. Andy Lee's a really good fellow as well, and they're a good team. They're looking good together. I'm not sure he hits hard enough to command enough respect from Dubois and drag him into that fight where you need to get Dubois. I can't see him keeping him off for 12 rounds, so Dubois.
Interesting. Batebiev, Bivol, a lot of opinions saying Bivol can deal with the power, so he'll come back better. So what do you think?
I think he can. I don't know if he can deal with the power, because I don't think he got caught clean in the first fight. It was that type of fight. I felt Bivol won the fight. It wasn't a robbery by any stretch. It was a close fight. It could have gone either way. I felt Bivol did enough. If I'm Bivol, I feel really hard done by on that. If I'm Batavia, I think I got a bit of a touch in the fight. But again, it's just my opinion, and I know a lot of well-respected people in boxing whose opinion I rate and whose judging I trust, and they had it for Bivol, for Batavia. So it's one of the fights, but I can see Bivol doing it this time, and whether he gets the decision or not is another thing.
Hamza Shiraz, Carlos Adames.
I've never seen Adames. Listen, I believe he is. I've never watched him. I've never actually sat and watched the full fight. I've seen the clips on the intros, but I couldn't be false and phony and say I've seen it. To be honest, listen, I rate Shiraz. I think he's a very good fighter. He's huge for the weight, and it helps him a lot. And I think he's destined for big things if he can keep it on the right track and keep disciplined and keep his head focused on the game. But he's in a tough weight division. But I really rate Shiraz.
Zhang Caballero.
Zhang, I think Zhang should be fine. Should have a bit too much. I love him. He's great. He's a character, and he's one that we've come to grow to love now in the UK.